have today amazing guest live here from the littleBits headquarters in...
where are we? We're in Chelsea.
New York City. We're in
New York City.
We're in New York City. Right by the West River.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about all the Internet of Things. In last week's call, we learned from Alex Ruthman and Eric Rosenbaum how we can use the world around us as a canvas, how we can get inspired to create new ideas and projects and all that. So today we're going to talk with Corey, our lovely guest from Etsy, and Syed, if you haven't met him before, about IoT and using the internet as a material.
Yeah.
And also how fun it is to make with friends.
Totally.
Hello, friends. Speaking of, Syed, how long have we been friends for?
Oh, like 4 years. We've been making arcades together, workshops, game jams, all kinds of really rad things.
Okay. And what are you doing at littleBits, Syed?
So I've been a software developer for the past 6 months, working on the cloud bit. This is Arjun's super special gold cloud bit. And
it's just like the gold MacBook, but it's
yeah. And most currently, I am a tech evangelist. You know, talking about and speaking the gospel of littleBits, or preaching the gospel of littleBits everywhere.
Speaking of gospels, Corey, what do you do at Etsy? If you had to describe it in a gospel or maybe a haiku poem, what would that be?
Yeah, so haiku I might be able to do. Let's see if I get this right. Home sweet office life, connecting locals and remotes, work reimagined.
Wow,
nice.
That's beautiful.
Kind of what we do as office hackers.
Super cool.
Super poetic. So to get our creative juices flowing, we have a little game. We've been seeing some of you playing it in the chat. If you could be an internet animal, which one would you be? I am a llama, controversial pronunciation of the animal.
Or llama.
Or llama. I think it's a llama. Syed, Corey, what is your internet spirit animal?
I would say Maru, the cat.
Oh, Maru, that was a fast answer. You've been thinking, you knew this question was coming.
I'm going to join you on the cat part and do 9 cats.
Yeah.
A lot of cats here. I don't know what animals you guys are being saying that you love in the chat. I see a lot of dogs, actually. So maybe we have a battle of the internet animals coming up. We have an extra special announcement. Do you guys like meeting?
Yes.
Meeting up with other makers? Making?
Yeah.
Do you like munching?
Of course.
Who doesn't like munching?
Yeah.
So coming up, we have Make and Munch. Don't forget, March 28 and 29. We're inviting all of you who are taking the course to host an informal event. It could be
anywhere. It could be in NYC. It could be in Hoon, Singapore, Chattanooga. Chattanooga has a really great punk scene.
Yeah.
Kuala Lumpur, Singapore again, and Boston.
Gail in Singapore, if you can hear us, just make sure you host an event. So yeah, we have like confirmed events in different cities, but it could be in your backyard, in your kitchen.
Barbecues.
Yeah. If the weather is nice. Here in New York, the weather has been teasing us. It was nice for 3 days and then it stopped being nice. Yeah, your local library, it could be anywhere. And you can find information of how to host that and directions in our forums. The link will appear shortly in the chat. And to wrap up this section of our community call, we're going to talk about our favorite projects of the week. So I'd love to hear from people on the chat. What are your favorite projects this week? I know both me and Syed loved a particularly musical project. What is that?
It's simply called Discotheque, and it's a little Lego guy just dancing on his own and raving in a little Lego discotheque. It's pretty awesome.
Corey, do you have any favorite projects from the project page?
Yeah, I noticed there was one on Starry Night that was done a little while ago, and I kind of like that. I've been working with a friend on an idea of kind of animated GIFs in the real world and canvases and so forth, and I thought that was a great idea, seeing kind of like the wind actually blowing through and everything.
This is from our art and design track. We love getting all your mixes of your favorite art pieces, and definitely Starry Nights actually has been Van Gogh in general has been a hit with our community. I've seen a few other projects remixed. Also in the background, do you guys notice who is going back and forth today in our background? Hey Dave, you want to say hello? We are live always from the shop here in littleBits. So David here is working with us today. Later on, when we break up in the rooms to talk about your cloud projects, you might join us. Also, as a hat accessory, Dave doubles as that. So yeah, let's get started. Corey, we're so excited that you're here. We're gonna do a few Q&A, a few questions that me and Syed have, and then we're gonna open it up to the community. Please, guys, you know the drill. Put your questions in the chat, and we're gonna pick 3 questions at the end and ask Corey and Syed. So, I guess my first question to you would be, you know, how IoT, it's all about the hype, right? And everybody uses that word, and it's such a trendy word to use. But what is kind of the thin line between IoT being a useful thing and something that is really meaningful in our lives and turning into Minority Report, especially with regards to like privacy and data and that kind of controversial aspect? Sure.
Yeah. I mean, first off, with like the Internet of Things and just being able to have more devices connected and feed us information, like that in general, I think is an amazing and powerful thing. The more data we can collect and kind of analyze and use for our own personal information about ourselves, about our habits, I know it kind of helps me learn new things and figure out trends in my own life, how I can make improvements. So, you know, I like that when I have access to a lot of that data, but I like it also that I have control over what data I can share with others. And I hope kind of has an industry that's a place where we can go and let people restrict and control how much data they're willing to share and put out there. I know with like some of the devices that we make, or that I make, you know, I try to have things kind of localized. Like you might have a device that collects light information and sound and motion and all this data locally, but then have restrictions about how much data like leaves your home network and then how much data goes to the, you know, the cloud network or other places, and try to have a control around there and try to give users control around that and help them understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a follow-up question on that topic of Minority Report. Of what happens when companies accidentally share your private data? What are the steps of accountability, or should there be oversight around that? That's my.
Yeah, it gets really tricky. Like I usually see myself as a more technical type person and starts to get political and into lawsuits and everything else like that. You know, the big picture part of me wants to kind of step away and say a lot of the information we're using for identity right now online, you know, I know, well, remote places know that I am who I am because I put in a certain username and password. Right. That's pretty flimsy. I mean, even knowing just somebody's social security card number a lot of times means you are that person. Yeah. You know, if I knew what it was, I think we'd all make a lot of money. But, you know, that next step of evolution on how we're actually identifying ourselves online to remote places, I feel like that's something that we're going to need to kind of solve as a society, because you're right. Once that information gets out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess like to tap onto that question, like talking specifically maybe about some of your favorite kind of IoT projects that you've seen, or say that you have seen that tackle that topic of like data and privacy and security online.
I'd have to think about that. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's certainly things that I'm looking towards is like how to make data more tangible, like a physical object. You know, we don't treat data with the same type of preciousness as we do our personal photographs or videos. And I want this idea of like data being super, super important, just as important as like your wedding photos.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. How about you, Roy?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good example. I can kind of think of a bad example to some degree.
Bad example is also good. I did set you up with like the Minority Report. So.
Yeah, I always feel it's almost like a learning example for me, and like as I think about other projects and stuff. But the hue lights, I don't know if you guys have played around with those at all. Which are
what are those?
So these are standard size light bulbs that you can screw in, and it'll come with a little base hub that you put into your home network or office network, and then you can control the color of your lights either through your phone or a web page. But basically, you can set them up. So I set up mine so when my girlfriend comes home, we notice her phone on the network, it turns on the lights. And in fact, I'll play a little entrance music for her and flash the lights with crazy colors and stuff like that. So they're a lot of fun. They're great for things like that. But you know, as they kind of progressed over time, their hub wants to be more and more communicative outside of your home network and out to a remote network. And you know, there's a lot of good encryption that's going on behind how that data is transferred, but still that's data and connection between two different networks that maybe you don't want. It'd be really nice if they gave you more of an end choice about if you want to enable that or have some control over that data that's going out.
That's actually my follow-up to all of this Minority Report questions is that, well, how do we make encryption more transparent? How do we make it easier? How do we make it as if you're locking your door? When you're leaving your house, you wouldn't leave your front door open. How can we translate that to data?
Yeah.
And when you guys talk about encryption, because that might be a word that maybe I know I'm not so familiar with, what does that look like? What's kind of a tangible example of what encryption could mean in the real world?
If you remember, I don't know if you passed notes in school.
Did you guys pass notes in school?
I remember encoding my notes so the teacher couldn't read them. Mm-hmm. It's the same idea. It's taking your data, encoding it so someone else can't read it.
I see. Great. So I guess like how we talked about Minority Report a bit about encryption and data, but on the other flip side of this, how can we use like the internet, the web as a material, like as a creative material? Like it opens up so many possibilities, IoT does, and certainly with the CloudBit, we've seen amazing projects coming from our community, creative ideas, things we would never have thought before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always impressed with just like how it can bring people together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess that's kind of the internet in general and so forth. But one of the things that I know we like to do at Etsy is we have hack weeks where everybody can get together and hack on projects. There's times where I'm speaking with my other office hackers who are sitting this close to me, but we'll do it on IRC so that other people can get a sense of what projects we're working on, what tools are available. Yesterday I mentioned, you know, we're changing up the filament in our 3D printer.
Yeah.
So if people were looking for an excuse to go and print, like here's an opportunity. So I think that idea, and I try to be better about communicating what I'm doing, but I think right now we have so many different forms where we can get that information out there, share it with friends that we know, share it with people we don't even know.
Yeah.
So thank you for inviting me to this here today, and you know, get a chance to interact with some new people and share new ideas. I think that's really powerful.
I actually I'll dive right into one of the questions I just noticed on the chat, and people in the chat, please, Bitsters, keep sending your questions. But Vanessa is asking, how can we make? Oh wait, 1 minute. How can we use IoT to connect humans to other humans, or bring out the best in humanity? So. Yeah, how can we connect the humans to other humans, bring the best out of us?
Well, one of the things that I've always loved about IoT is like taking something that's digital and creating something physical from it, and then taking something physical and going back to the digital. I have this, Chloe, you know, I've been working on this Minecraft mod where if you're not familiar with Minecraft, there's this concept inside of it called redstone. It's essentially electricity in Minecraft. And you can take the electricity in Minecraft and, you know, shoot it over an IoT device like a CloudBit, and then, you know, turn on a real light, and then, or flip a switch in the physical world and turn on a light in Minecraft, you know.
Yeah, things like that, like merging the physical and the virtual worlds, I think are really fun and exciting. Yeah, I was just kind of, we're all sitting around the video screen in our kind of like hangout area of the office watching the Apple event last week. And, you know, one of those crazy features about the watch where you can send your heartbeat to a friend is like, there's no reason you need to do that, but that's kind of nice. I like some of those esoteric sort of like uses of tech. And that's just one of those things. It's like there's no requirement it needs to do this, but it's probably one of those things that's going to help some people feel more connected. And I think that's great.
Definitely. I mean, that sense of intimacy actually is something that really interests me as well. Like I've noticed a lot of projects on our project page about you know, connecting with friends that are far away, or you know, your loved ones that might not be in the same city with you. So you know, how do you create kind of these interfaces that, you know, use IoT but convey a very kind of personal message to people in your life that mean a lot. We have a few more questions actually. Like our chat is as per usual full of questions firing up. Jeff B is asking, how can we make the interface between the software and the hardware more accessible and easier to use? It's a question for both of you, but I feel Syed might have things to say working on the CloudBit for so long.
I come from a games background, and so I love creating custom video game controllers. And I feel like video game controllers can also act as other means to interface with all kinds of software. So that's my main interest. Creating custom video game controllers.
Custom video game controllers. Very cool. Yeah. How about you?
Well, I was actually just thinking with littleBits and your CloudBit, that was kind of one of the first times I had really used if this then that for a project, and I really liked the simplicity of that, and kind of, you know, taking something that for a lot of people would be really complex and making a really simple way of interacting and making pieces come together. I used to consider one of my original programming jobs where I was doing a lot of Perl coding and stuff like that. Like I was writing duct tape between programs to get them to interact. So that's kind of nice when you can make that duct tape like something that anybody can apply and piece together.
Super cool.
Super. Well, you're inspiring our community with a game conversation. So there's a question from Gail from Singapore who is asking, how can the CloudBit be used in augmented reality?
Whoa.
Whoa. Gail, you blew our minds. You blew our minds.
Should I start?
Yeah.
Well, there is an unannounced product that we're working on that I don't think I can talk about, but it's on that track of using the CloudBit as a sensor and being able to track things in the real world and take that data and pipe it through if then this that or our own platform.
And if you could think blue skies though, right? Blue skies. What would be your dream kind of ultimate reality game or experience that you could do with
everyone
CloudBit?
would have glasses, and they were all networked, and you can kind of see what someone is doing in Singapore or in India, and you can kind of go through people's like points of view, like first person points of view, and they're all networked all over the world. That'd be kind of cool.
Cool. How about you, Kari?
Yeah, I've been excited by augmented reality and virtual reality. We have an Oculus in the office that we've been working on programming and having experience with. I had Google Glass for a while and checked that out. So I'm looking forward to the day when it's something that's just so normal and it's unobtrusive. You forget that you're wearing it. I'm excited by that, and I'm kind of worried if I get into a game where I start losing the sense of what's real and what's part of the game and everything. And I know that's almost been a trend people have kind of done with like cell phone SMS messages sometimes and calling certain numbers and hearing a message. And I'm fascinated by that. I'm also slightly terrified.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. There's always a thin line. Let's take one more question from the community. I'm just checking here in the chat. let's see. One more. Top secret bits, everybody's saying.
Oops, I opened a can of worms.
Okay. Let's see. I think there is like a few more questions around building a community through making, and I think that's something that we are really kind of passionate about here in littleBits. So my question, I guess, just to take some of the questions in the chat, how do you see IoT, in the maker community? Like what is kind of like its role? How do you see it expanding the potential of a community? And yeah.
So for me, I think one of the fascinating things is just that the price point for this has come so far down.
Yeah.
And so it's getting to the point where it's really affordable that you can put a sensor on just about anything and start collecting data. And then the more data that we're able to collect and more trends we're able to see, we can probably further ourselves. The idea of collecting health information, being able to do that and share that in an anonymous way, giving people the power over what they share and what don't share, I think is very important. But that idea that we can start collecting more of this information is going to be almost, it won't cost us much of anything. Maybe
open
juice.
data and just making like technology accessible to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. One last question, and then we're going to wrap it up, but then we're going to meet all of you in the room so we can continue the conversation. Vanessa is asking, is there anything that you wouldn't allow in your house? Is there anything that you you want that no one has created yet?
Oh.
that seemed to interest our guests over here.
I would love an interface that would read my brainwaves. So you could
The
kind of
brain
think,
bit.
yeah, the brain bit. So you want toast, and it it sets off your toaster. If you want some coffee, it sets off your coffee maker while you're in bed trying to get up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of along those lines. I want something that almost like predicts what I'm going to do and knows me so well that it knows like, oh, I'm going to want coffee today, but I'm probably going to want tea tomorrow or something like that. When we can get something that smart, it'll be scary, but it'll also be great.
Yeah.
So okay, a bit embedded in our brains is the way forward. I'm not sure what the community thinks about that. I'm not sure what I'm thinking about that. But